the visibility wound. How do we, what is it? How do we start to even heal it? How do we get it? It's a massive topic, absolutely huge. So let's just start with what is the definition of the visibility wound. We're in the Aquarian age, it's an information age. In order to be able to work successfully on all levels, we need to understand. So let's look at the visibility wound. It is an initiatory spiritual wound. Okay? The visibility wound is an initiatory spiritual wound that's associated with the fear of being seen or fully known by others. Now, it's a wound commonly carried by spiritual seekers, light workers, healers, shaman, healer priests and priestesses, magicians, medicine men and women, and spiritual leaders. Those whose healing, spiritual and magical work historically challenged the status quo or threatened existing power structures, because their work was focused on reinstating and supporting the sovereignty and autonomy of the individual. So while the visibility wound, anyone can carry it, but it is commonly carried, as I said, by spiritual seekers, light workers, healer, shaman, healer, priests, priestesses, magicians, medicine men and women, and spiritual leaders. For the reason I just outlined, because their work was focused on reinstating and supporting the sovereignty and autonomy, spiritual autonomy of the individual. So this initiatory spiritual wound, this particular initiatory spiritual wound, because there are others, but we're particularly focusing on the visibility wound. It's a particular type of wounding in consciousness that's impacted the soul and inhibits the spirit's full expression, and as a consequence, the descent of the monad, our monadic self. So it has a huge impact, not just on the soul, but spirit and on our the full expression of our monadic self in this and in other lifetimes. And that's due to experiencing the perils of stepping into the public eye in their sacred role. So the visibility wound often arises or stems from far memory of persecution, exile, judgment, betrayal, ridicule, or danger, or annihilation. In other words, completely annihilated, death, for expressing one's true self or spiritual truth or essence. It can arise or stem from ancestral trauma related to religious or societal oppression of the feminine, regardless of gender, oppression of the feminine, or magical, spiritual, or indigenous wisdom. So it can arise from collective wounding around power, voice, and authenticity. It can arise from negative energetic patterns in consciousness that negate the capacity for confident action, being heard, and spiritual identity. So it's the type of wounding that can cause the soul to be predisposed to consciously or unconsciously withdraw from partial or full engagement with life, but with one's divine purpose. In other words, the soul chooses, because spirit is not fully present, the soul chooses to keep itself small in order to try to keep itself safe by creating the illusion of safety. So behind this illusory facade, the soul is in pain and tormented by the inner conflict of wanting to evolve and mature so that it can be all that it can be, but torn between that and by keeping itself small. So at its core, the visibility wound is a soul and spirit level wound around expressing one's true self, nature, and character. There's a soul pattern of hiding, of avoidance, and deflection. It's a protective mechanism developed by the soul. So we weren't born with it. It's a protective mechanism developed by the soul from being exposed to or experiencing situations where visibility equaled an existential threat. As a result, well, there's an imbalance in the throat, solar plexus, and heart centers related to self-expression, empowerment, and carrying the mantle of sacred service. So it's important to understand that while this visibility wound can express at a personality level, remember our personality self is the aspect of ourself that's out in the world, the doing, our physical body and mental and emotional self. So while this wound can express at a personality level in a myriad of ways that I'll be sharing with you shortly, this wound is not primarily a personality issue. And therefore it can't be successfully addressed at the personality level because it goes deep. It reaches to the very core of our spiritual being. It's a serious wound that exists at the soul and spirit level and exists and affects our soul and our spirit.